Ooh. Hey, welcome to Word of Mouth Podcast with Nate and Shelby. What it do?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, man, it's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we want to just get on here and have some good discussion. So Shelby, today,
Yes, sir.
today we actually want to discuss.
Hey, it's Good Friday. Can we just acknowledge that real quick?
Yes, it is Good
It is
Friday.
finished.
Like, this week has been amazing, and I think we get so distracted in everything that's going on in the world, and we forget that we had a Savior that went through so much this week, especially on this day, symbolically on this day, and with all the ridicule, the beating, the spit on, he had to carry a 210-pound cross
Uphill.
up a hill.
Big ass hill.
Up a hill.
We're not talking
My
just no
God.
little hill. This
Just
is a big old hill.
Oh my goodness. But he did it for us. And then they nailed him to the cross. And my God. So today is very, very special. Instead of me saying Good Friday, can I call it Great Friday?
Yeah.
Amazing Friday? Wonderful Friday? Thank God for this Friday.
Yes.
It is a beautiful, beautiful day. And I thank God for Jesus. Amen.
Yes. Amen.
All righty. So with that, make sure that you take a moment just to celebrate the symbolic day of the Friday in which he was crucified. I know it seems like it was a bad thing, but he was born to die.
Yes, and he knew.
And he knew what he had to do.
And the devil lost.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
He
did.
got his butt kicked.
Thank you, Jesus,
Yes.
for breaking the curse. Thank you, Jesus, for giving us life.
Absolutely.
All right, so today I've been sitting here with Shelby, and we brought up two words in which we want to talk about today. And those two words actually are something that I think everybody know about. Those words are counterfeit and pretend. Counterfeit and pretend. Wow. So I want to deal with the first word, counterfeit. So I was asking Shelby off mic. I said, hey, Shelby, can you recognize a counterfeit bill? And she said, yeah, she did. She told me she could.
Business. We do it all the time.
Now, how did you say you was able to recognize the counterfeit?
We have an ink pen that will determine whether it's real or fake.
Okay, so she says she has a pen that determines whether the bill is real or fake. So when it's a fake bill, basically it can't be spent, right?
It should not, yes.
So with that, and I want to bring that out, and we'll talk about that in a minute, a counterfeit bill has no value.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Okay, but a bill that passes the test, we're going to unpack this in a minute. So the bill that passes the test, it has value, but it have to go through the testing period.
Oh.
It's all coming. I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit is down. They have to go through that period of testing for it to have some type of value. So I want to talk about counterfeit and the word pretend. We'll get on that in a little bit. So I think people, if I was to kind of talk about people, if I ask you a question, Shelby, have you ever met a person that has been placed in the counterfeit column?
Yes.
What did you do? Did you break out your pen?
Yeah, I drew all over them. No, I think we meet them on a daily basis, honestly. And some we have pretty tight relationships with sometimes, and some we don't. Can I read the definition of counterfeit?
Please.
To make imitation or copy of something, usually with the intent to defraud. To carry on a deception.
Can I just, it's a lot of words I can use in that, deception. So when we look at the word counterfeit, especially relating to humans, when you meet a person in that counterfeiting type of way, it's meant to deceive you.
Yep.
Now, anything that's sent our way in that aspect to deceive, that's something that's connected to the devil.
Yes.
Because we know that the enemy comes to deceive, comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yes. And he is the author of confusion,
Always.
which deception causes confusion.
Preach. So with that, I think it's very important to understand the process of making sure that it's either counterfeit or real. That process in between,
The test.
the test, is very important. What's the test to you? Gotta go with Shelby. What's the test?
Well, I'm kind of an oxymoron because I will trust people on the surface immediately and allow them to hang themselves with the rope that I give them. But at the same time, I will not trust you with things that are under the surface.
Okay.
So I'm kind of convoluted in that, I guess. But so I think, you just have to see where it leads as far as the feelings you pick up from them. Hopefully we all have a little discernment. You have to watch for the red flags. Pay attention to how they treat others. Character is what you do when there's no one looking.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
That's what matters to me. And if I see deviations in that, then I'm going to put you in that little box we talked about earlier.
My. Character is something that's not seen in the natural eye all the time.
Right.
Because your character is actually who you are.
Right.
And that's why people...
But you can pretend to be something you're not.
In the presence of someone else.
Right.
And that's how they can become counterfeit. Like, we're going to unpack this, you all, because it's a lot of meat in some of the stuff she just said. You just mentioned a key phrase. I know I use this phrase all the time. It costs to pay attention. And if you're not seeing those things up front, either with a discerning eye or even watching the fruits that they bear, then how would you be able to detect that it's counterfeit?
Yeah, the fruits. Okay, so I'm just going to, I got a text from someone who at one point was very, very close to me. Texted me a couple days ago saying that basically I was a hypocrite and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look at the fruits of my life because that will tell you what I am.
Wow.
Fruits are important. And I'm not bragging on myself. I'm just saying.
Fruits are important.
Yeah, you do need to see what a person's fruits are, what they're cultivating around them, what they are nurturing, if they're compassionate, if they have any empathy. All those things are really important because that'll tell you where their heart lies.
Yes, I agree with that. If you went up to an apple tree and you saw a pear, would you pick it? It's an apple tree. Like, I'll be confused.
How do you know it's an apple tree if it's got pears on it?
That part. So to be a fruit inspector is important. And we're told, not to judge. I'm not talking about judgment. I'm talking about fruit. And we have to have a level of judgment to see the difference between an apple and a pear.
Yes, and judgment. That's another subject that we really need to dive into because everybody says don't judge because the word says judge not lest ye be judged.
Right.
But it also talks about judgment, righteous judgment.
Righteous judgment.
Yes. And we have to have standards in this world.
Yes.
And those are kind of tied together because you have to be able to judge if you're going to have standards.
My God.
So, and we've kind of lost the whole standards thing. Everybody gets to, be willy-nilly. So there's not real standards anymore. And I think that's really important that we need to get back to that. But that's a whole nother subject, so I'm going off on a tangent.
No, it actually fits into the being able to discern the difference between counterfeit and real.
Yeah.
If I don't have any standards, how can I detect it?
That's true.
my pen won't work if I don't if I don't have standards. So you're absolutely. I'm glad you brought that out because we forget that process. If you have no standards, how are you expecting to see?
Or how are you expecting to have someone have any? Yes.
That part.
Yeah.
So it's important, as she said, it's important to have standards, but be able to detect and discern someone else's standards. Also with that,
Or lack thereof.
or the lack thereof.
Yes.
So now with that, we're starting the process of discerning the difference between real and fake, or counterfeit and real. Now that you've reached past that part, what's next?
You have to test their mettle. I mean, you have to, if you're talking in a relationship and you've opened up your heart or whatever to them, the possibilities, I think you have to be very watchful.
Let me ask a question right there when you say very watchful. Are you watchful in fear or are you watchful in faith?
You should be watchful in faith, but I think if you've been hurt, you're watchful in fear. Let's just be honest.
I'm so glad we're honest because some of us, if we have been through that before, or if we've been burned before, or if we've
Which
been
I
hurt
think
before,
all of us probably have.
yes, we're watchful in fear. Like we're afraid.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I'm going to get her cash app, y'all. We're watchful in a place where we're so scared to see if this is going to bite me or hurt me or burn me again or something to that sort. And
You know, I just don't, it's kind of like, you know, you're innocent until proven guilty, but in relationships, you're guilty until you prove your innocence.
I think that's life right now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if we're talking about, you know, possibly opening your life up to someone,
Yes.
you're guilty until you prove your innocence.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause
That's
it's
bad.
And it's real bad. It's bad all the way around. How do you go into a relationship knowing that person is
Yeah, they're
guilty?
already losing. They can't. How are they going to win?
Like they're already in the red
Right.
and you're trying to bring them to the green?
Right.
That's relationships. That's friendship. Like how do
Business.
you everything?
Yeah.
How can you pull them over to the green and you've already accused them? They're already marked
But
as
that's,
guilty.
yeah, that goes to what we were talking about earlier. You can't drag your past into your future. And when you've been around someone who's extremely dishonest for a long, long time, and you think everybody else is dishonest, you don't trust anything that someone tells you, right?
You're absolutely right.
And so it's going to take time and a process of learning whether or not you can believe what they say.
I think that's
And they
the
have to
second
prove
part.
Themselves.
Yes. That's the
But
second
is that
part.
fair to them? They didn't do anything to you. They didn't start out being dishonest.
Come on.
You're bringing your past into the future, and that's not going to. A lot of times, our past screws us so badly and denies us what could be something that's really a blessing and a good thing. So if we're not willing to negate that, and we're not willing to leave our past there and not drag it with us, it's going to be really difficult.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, even if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was vice versa, you would feel the same way. Like, why am I guilty? Why do I have to?
Right. Why do I have to prove myself?
Right. Why am I?
I didn't do
going
nothing.
Through hoops just to get you to love me. Why am I going through, leaps and bounds and jumping over everything and breaking down walls and bricks just to get you to trust me?
But it's kind of a fine line though, because if you really are into that person, aren't you going to want them to feel confident in the relationship?
You would, but
Aren't
don't
you going to want to reassure them?
You would think. But shouldn't you give them a clean slate to start off with and not already have them in the red? Nobody gets a clean slate anymore?
Well, I think that we need other people as part of our healing process. And I don't think we can all be walking into new relationships completely healed, because I think a lot of times that new person is part of our healing process. Because to unlearn all the things you've learned that were bad, you have to be seeing things that are good, that are the opposite of that.
to unlearn the things that are bad.
Right. To unlearn the things that have hurt you, to unlearn all of the past that proved to you people were no good. You have to be around people who are good, that are going to show you that there's still those people in existence.
So let me ask a question in that, especially from an advocate standpoint. Why do I have to be a part of that process if I just met you? Why do I have to watch you unlearn and I just want to be with a person that I like?
You don't have to. You're not forced to at all. That's your choice. But if you have any investment in me or care to have any investment in me, then that's part of the deal, I guess.
So are we walking in friendships, relationships, businesses, whatever it may have you, are we walking in not healed?
I think, I really believe that healing is our sanctifying as well. And I believe you're not sanctified until you go home. Every day is a part of your sanctification, right?
Okay.
And I think that's the same for healing. I think eventually, yes, you can be completely healed. And there probably are people that heal themselves completely before they enter into another relationship. But I do think that sometimes relationships are part of that healing.
Wow. So I'm going to tap into what you were saying, and I'm going to give a different perspective from me.
Okay.
I will go into a friendship, a relationship, a situationship, whatever it is. I will go in understanding that there need to be some healing to take place, but I'm also looking for wholeness coming in. I want to make sure that you are whole coming in, and we can go ahead and put the bandages on as we go.
Right.
But if you're not whole, then there's some broken pieces that I can't put
Back together.
I can't put back together. That's only a process that either you or God have to actually do. More so yourself or myself, I would have to do that before I enter into something else. And not to say that they can't help through the healing process, but they shouldn't have to make me whole.
No,
again.
another person cannot make you whole.
So-
And relationships, that's not, you should be two whole people.
Come on, talk about it. Talk about it.
Well, I mean, you should. Don't look for someone else to make you whole. They can't do it. They're going to fail every time.
That's what I want to bring out right there. We think that healing and wholeness is the same thing.
Oh, no.
And there are some scars. Everybody
Always, yes.
have those scars.
Right.
But those scars are not connected to who you are in your identity or your purpose or your wholeness. Those are just scars.
Right. Scars are surface level. They're on your skin.
Yes.
So, yes, they're surface.
And what you just said, please say that to an audience that may have struggled in thinking that me being healed and me being whole is the same thing. It's actually not.
No, it's not.
From a woman perspective, what can women do? And I'll talk, from a male perspective, but what can women do first before they enter into something, whether it's a friendship, relationship?
Well, I think that, everybody's different. I can only speak on my own self, but I know a lot of people go basically from the frying pan into the fire. They get out of one relationship that was terrible, and they just, instead of healing or doing anything about it, they jump right into the next one thinking that's going to fix it, right? Wow. Me personally, I don't believe in that. That's just me. I'm not saying you can't get healed in a situation like that. I personally I can't do that. I can't go from point A to point B to point C to point D. I just can't. So I think that you do have to stop once you've gotten out of a relationship and at least take some time to process what happened.
Ooh, this is so good.
What went wrong, what went right, what you can do better, what you need to change, what you didn't like about that person, what you did like, you know what I mean? You got to evaluate the whole thing. And if you're mature, you're going to want to do that because you don't want to do it again. You don't want to repeat the same cycle, right? So I think you do have to take that time to get your head around it and pick up some of the pieces that may have broken off so that you are whole. Now, does that mean that every scar is gone? Does that mean that that's all healed? No. You're going to be a whole person, but you're still going to have some flesh wounds.
Wow. And thank you for saying it in that perspective, because, and I think you shared this already, you don't want either a new person or even the old person to pick up those broken pieces and cut you with the same broken pieces.
No, that's bullshit right there, man. I swear, when someone breaks you and then they pick up the piece of glass that they broke off of you and then they decide to cut you with it, yeah, there's a special place for you.
You don't want nobody picking up broken pieces that they broke you with. And cutting you
And
again.
they don't have a right to do that. Come on now, kick them people out of your life.
Yes.
That's wackadoodle right there.
Wackadoodle. That's why it's important for your wholeness to take place. Like you can't walk around and not be whole.
No.
I think your wholeness has to start with yourself. She mentioned self-evaluation, being able to recognize, to identify, and to understand what it is that it takes for you to become whole again. Ask God for that help.
Yes, absolutely. You have to have him, I think.
Ask God
That's
for
just
that
me.
help. Men, in the same way, a lot of us don't ask, even ourselves. We don't look in the mirror and take a self-evaluation and say, hey, I've been broken. We just think we got to macho up.
Right. Man up.
We're in pieces, and we think we got to macho up. Now, you spoke about from point A to point B. I don't think men do that, but we do it not knowingly.
You mean jump from the frying pan into the fire?
Yeah. And we jump thinking that
you're going to get better in the next one.
Yes. Yes.
That's going to fix me.
Because we don't identify with the brokenness.
But that's just like the root of bitterness. If you don't pull that root, if you don't figure out what that root is, that's going to poison you the rest of your life.
Yes.
So it's the same thing in relationships. If you don't find out why it broke in the first place, you're just going to carry it into the next one.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're going to probably tank it. Or there's going to have to be a lot of work done. And is that person going to be willing to participate in that work?
Wow. Wow, this is powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, a conversation like this is so needed. I'm talking about just moving forward. If you were broken on a job.
And neither one of us is in a relationship right now.
Man,
we're trying to get off our islands.
We're trying. If you were broken on a job, if you were broken in a friendship, something happened to you as a kid, a marriage went sour, whatever may have you, these things or these necessary steps, we're talking about it because it's transparent and we're living it.
Yes, absolutely. We are living this. We're learning as we go. Yes, absolutely.
And we're taking these
and we're not
necessary
perfections.
steps.
We're not perfect at all. So don't think that we're thinking we're better than anybody, because we ain't.
Never. I hope that you don't think that about us. However, I believe that if we talk about it more and we start the conversations, we can begin to identify with each other and understand, hey, I know how that feels. Or maybe
relate.
you can help and then be able to relate, because iron does sharpen iron.
Right. But it's so, like you said, in any relationship, and in it doesn't even have to be a relationship, but in any instance, when you've been hurt, bruised, whatever, you really need to get to the bottom of what that did to you and how that affected you and what hurt you, because sometimes it comes from our own stuff. And when we just keep piling stuff on top of that, that root grows. And that root causes anger, and it causes bitterness, and it causes ugliness, and it causes all kinds of manifestations in the physical. And it ruins things. It causes alcoholism. It causes, all kinds of stuff. Addictions, everything.
Wow.
So I think we absolutely dealing with the root of whatever broke the relationship, whatever broke the business, whatever hurt you really bad.
Yes.
You got to deal with it, people. You got to pull that sucker, pluck it.
Got to deal with the root. And I know it can become hard.
Oh, it's terrible. When you really get down to the nitty gritty, it's ugly and it hurts worse than anything you've ever done. But But you got to do it because otherwise you're just going to poison yourself the rest of your life and poison other people.
You get the surface healing, you get the Band-Aid, but you're still pussing.
Right, it's like bleeding on other people.
Right, and you're constantly bleeding. And that has been unsuccessful
Right.
in a lot of people's lives. If we be honest, that has been the story of people relationship here lately, where I'm just bleeding on someone else. It ain't gonna last. And then it goes sour again, and that's...
Well, and I'm talking from my own life, okay? I had a huge root of bitterness. I lived it.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't made up crap. So
No, this is never made
I
up.
experienced it. I'm not just spitting stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a bad thing.
It is. You keep saying this word and it's standing out. The root. We're not talking about plucking off or pruning the leaves.
No,
and the
we're
branches.
getting it at the surface. Like you
Yes.
can't let the root keep living. You got to get it down
You
under
gotta
there.
Get the root of it.
Yeah.
And the root is not surface.
No.
People. The root is not surface. God, that's so good. We got to have a part 2 to this, because how can we see the true manifestation of real or authentic if we never even deal with the root?
Well, and if you're not willing to be authentic with yourself, then,
If you don't know what the root is, how can you be authentic?
well, I think you can be authentic, but you're scared.
Then that turns into pretend.
Counterfeit.
This lady here, man, I love it. So listen, we're coming back with part 2, man, because this is just a conversation that we all need to have, and we're going to continue it. So we'll see you here shortly.
Love ya.